Hello, sports fans, and welcome to the Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football post-game show. I'm sorry it's a day late, but I just didn't get a chance to do it last night, but you get it tonight. Anyway, the Chicago Bears beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-19 last night at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. It was a good game for most of the night, but the Bears went ahead and took the lead and got the win in the end. Now, this was not a high-scoring game, but it wasn't too low of a scoring game either. It was it was a low-scoring game, but not too low of a scoring game as we all thought it was going to be. However, it was the first time since the most memorable Super Bowl 52 win that Tom Brady and Nick Foles squared off. Though a Week 5 matchup hardly compares to the biggest games these quarterbacks battled into the Chicago night for their new squads. And it was the Bears defense that owned the night. However, stopping any Brady histrionics on a final drive as the Chicago Bears defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-19 last night in Chicago on Thursday Night Football. Well, Nick Foles he's like a box of chocolates. He's hot and he's cold, but he was very consistent last night. And the Bears defense just really stepped it up. The offense was a bit shaky, but the defense really stepped it up. And but Tampa Bay jumped out to the 3-0 lead in the first quarter, then scored a touchdown, and it was 10-0 Tampa Bay at the end of the first quarter, and they kicked a field goal in the second quarter. It was 13-0. And then Chicago scored their first touchdown. It was 7-3, and that was a David Montgomery touchdown. And then they scored another touchdown. That was a Jimmy Graham touchdown. And that was 14-13 at the end of the second, at the end of the half, at the end of the first half, and it was at halftime. And then in the third, the Tampa Bay kicked another field goal, and they went up 16-14 because they couldn't. They got as far as I think the Tampa Bay 20, I think, or. I think it was Tampa Bay 36, excuse me. And then Chicago kicked a field goal because they couldn't get in the end zone, so they had to set up for a field goal. And they were up 17-16. And then in the fourth, Chicago was able to Tampa Bay fumbled and recovered, and then Chicago recovered the ball, and they could not get into the end zone, so they set up for another field goal. And so it was 20 to 17. Actually, it was Tampa Bay kicked a field goal. Excuse me at the first part. I made a mistake. My mistake. Tampa Bay kicked a field goal, and they couldn't get in the end zone. They got as far as the Chicago 35, and then it was 19-17. And then Chicago kicked another kicked the field goal, and it was 20-19. But then Tampa Bay had a turnover on downs, and it was for -1 yard. And then Chicago got the ball back, and that's when that I think. And they had one play, and then Chicago kneeled, and they were able to run out the clock, and that was basically it. And Chicago gets the win, 20-19. So. I mean, Tampa Bay was a good game between Tampa Bay and Chicago, but Tampa Bay looked a bit shaky last night. But Brady played well, but there were a few guys on Tampa Bay that did play well, but there were a lot of guys that looked pretty shaky last night. But and my brother-in-law and I both took Tampa Bay, and we both lost, so we're both 0-1 on that one. Well, now it's time to give out some game balls. Nick Foles, 30 of 42, carries and attempts, 243 yards. One touchdown, one interception. He had one carry in rushing and minus 1 yard in the rushing. Allen Robinson, 10 receptions, 90 yards. David Montgomery, 10 carries, 29 yards, 1 touchdown. And 7 receptions, 30 yards on the receiving end. Jimmy Graham, 3 receptions, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. And Cario Santos for that game-winning field goal that won it for the Bears last night. And I felt that was just a game-winning field goal that really put the game in the Bears' hands to win it. But we've got some other great games coming up for you this weekend and Monday and Tuesday of next week. The Jacksonville Jaguars will take on the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium in Houston. The Cincinnati Bengals will take on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. The Carolina Panthers will take on the Atlanta Falcons, and the Falcons will try to get their first win of the season at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. The Las Vegas Raiders will travel to Arrowhead Stadium to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. The Arizona Cardinals will take on the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium in New York. The Eagles will go to Heinz Field to take on the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the LA Rams will take on the Washington football team at FedEx Field in Washington. And the Miami Dolphins will take on the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium in San Francisco. The Dallas Cowboys will travel to Big D to battle the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. And the Browns will take on the Indianapolis Colts at home at First Energy Stadium. And Sunday Night Football, the Minnesota Vikings will travel to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. And Russell Wilson, who has been hot and been on a roll. And there are a couple of Monday night games at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Monday. The Denver Broncos will take on the New England Patriots at Gillette Stadium. That was been pushed up from Sunday to Monday. And on Monday Night Football at 8:20, the LA Chargers will take on the New Orleans Saints at Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. And on Tuesday this week, at I believe it's a 7 o'clock start, the Buffalo Bills will take on the Tennessee Titans at LP Field, and that's on Tuesday. And that will be on CBS. That's just about going to wrap it up for the Scott Sports 101 Thursday Night Football post-game show. I'll be back with the Scott Sports 101 NFL Football Sunday early games pregame show and all the others to follow after that once the early games have concluded. And but until then, always remember, be a team player each and every day in every way possible. So long, everybody. 3, 2, 1, I'm done.